Hey, what's up, guys? It's Card Shuffler 99 here, and today we're gonna be walking through how Ryan Tricks did his card sort of magic mentalism trick on America's Got Talent in his audition. He just performed this a couple hours ago, so we are going to be breaking down this entire trick. And I do keep in mind that most of what we say in this video is strictly our opinion. We have been watching Magic for a pretty long time at this point, so we do have a pretty good idea of how we think he did it. But at the end of the day, we're not saying this is exactly how he did it. And we're not going to stand here and just say like, okay, we know this is how he did it. We're not doing that. We're just going to give you guys opinions. So if you guys want to stick around, please do. We're going to talk about how we think he goes ahead and does this entire trick. We're going to walk through the deck part of the trick to the touch to even the cookie. We're going to get to every single part. So keep that in mind throughout this entire video. Don't forget, we have a giveaway on the channel. If you want to enter, just like this video, subscribe to the channel, comment something in the comment section below. Make sure you guys have your post notifications turned on. And the final step, you have to go to our Instagram and like our Instagram giveaway post. We are giving away 3 pairs of AirPods. So if you want to win one of 3, do those steps. We will be announcing the winner in a couple of days on our Instagram, so keep that in mind. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the intro. So let's get straight into this trick. If you haven't seen the performance, make sure you guys go check that out. I will be walking through the different parts of the trick, so you will be able to sort of understand how this goes down. But I think you guys should definitely watch the performance if you haven't already. We will link that once again. So the first part of the trick, he's going to have 2 decks. He's going to have one for Simon and one for Howie. And he's going to spread these decks face up. He's going to show all the cards are different. He's then going to spread it face down. And he's going to have both the judges sort of wave their hands over the deck. And at any point, they can stop and pull a card out. And those cards are going to match. So how is this part done? So it's going to use a trick deck here that revolves around the same principle that Invisible Deck uses. Now, this is not the same exact deck that he would use, but this deck uses the same sort of concept. So as you can see here, what Invisible Deck is, it basically allows you to sort of know where every card is. So you can see here, as I spread through the deck, it makes it sort of seem like I'm showing you the entire deck here. But obviously, if this were a full deck, this is only half the deck. Now, why is this so? What's happening here is that each card is actually stuck to another card. So you can see here, this is basically a double-faced deck. Now, again, this is not the deck he used, okay? So keep that in mind. I'm going to walk you through this. So what this is it's basically going to be a texture on the backs of these cards that's going to keep it together. Now, this Invisible Deck's a little bit old. It's sort of wearing off. So the cards can kind of spread off a little bit. But you can see for the most part, these pairs of cards are going to stick together pretty well, okay? So generally what he's going to do is he's going to have one side of his deck is going to be all random cards, okay? It doesn't matter what card it is. These are going to be random cards. On the back side, now you can see these are face up. He's going to have them face down, but it's going to have the same texture. So picture this right now. Let me see if I can get, let's see. I'm going to get the 5. Let's just use the 5 of spades. So picture the card that they selected was the 5 of spades, or the card in this case he's forcing. Let's say he was going to force the 5 of spades. The way this deck would sort of work is all these cards right here would be different, right? So in this case, let's picture this is one of the cards that he's going to have on this different side, right? So he's going to have 8 of hearts. Now, as this deck has the texture on the 2 backs, this deck would be slightly different, where the texture is going to be on the front of every single 5 of spades. Okay, so it's going to have that texture, and then the other cards are going to have the texture on the back. So what's going to happen is when he sticks these 2 cards together, as he spreads it one way, all you're going to see are these top cards. This 5 of spades that's under is going to be stuck, right? So that's the sort of principle behind this trick, because you can see here, if I take this Invisible Deck, if I give it a light spread, you could see that for the most part, the cards are going to stay together. Now, obviously, again, mine is sort of spreading off because this is a bit of an older one. But you can see as you spread the cards here, all these cards are going to be different, right? The cards that are stuck to the back of it are all going to be that card he wants to force. In his case, it was the 5 of clubs, right? Now, again, instead of them being back-to-back, he would have the 5 of clubs facing like this. So there would be a texture on this card, a texture on this side of the card. So these 2 would stick together. That way, when you spread the cards face up, all you would see are these different cards. And then as you spread it face down, you would have the entire face down deck. But every single one of those face down cards is going to be it's going to be a 5 of clubs, right? So Again, that's sort of this first part of the trick, okay, is it's going to use this idea of this invisible deck. It's going to have this sort of texture that keeps the cards together. That way, when he spreads the cards face up, all random cards, as he flips it over, now again, picture that these cards were face down. All of these cards are going to be 5 of clubs in his deck, okay? And again, these are all going to be face down, okay? That way, when he spreads it face up, all the cards appear different, but then when he spreads it face down, every single face down card there is going to be a 5 of clubs. That's why when you look at his deck, you could see the deck is pretty thick, but when he spreads it, if you could probably count, because he did a pretty good spread, you could probably count every single card that's there, and there's not 52 cards as he spreads it face down. You could probably count it because he does a pretty generous spread. There's definitely not 52 cards that you could see face down. So he's using this sort of idea. When he spreads it both ways, you can only see half the cards because they're stuck together. Now again, this invisible deck puts the cards back to back. His wouldn't be back to back. Keep that in mind. Okay, the texture would just be on every 5 of clubs. The texture would just be on the face instead of the back. That way, again, spread it face up, you'll see all the different cards. As he spreads it face down, imagine all these cards were face down. These would all be all these face down. All these cards here would be face down, and every single one of these would be a 5 of clubs. No matter which card they touch and push out, it's going to be a 5 of clubs. So that is how that first part of the trick is done. Again, it uses this idea of, I mean, obviously I wasn't able to completely make this happen for you guys because this isn't the same trick deck. This is just an invisible deck, but it just uses that sort of coding that puts the cards back to back. That allows you to spread it one way. You can only see half the deck, and you spread the other way, you can see the other half of the deck, and that's going to hide all the cards. So that's the first part of the trick with the deck. Now the second part of the trick can be done a couple ways. Now this is going to involve touch. So if you look back, he's going to basically put pressure on Howie's hand. He's going to say, okay, do you feel that pressure? Howie says yes. They're then going to run through a bunch of things where he's going to have Howie blindfolded, and he's going to put pressure on Simon. And basically he says, like, okay, when I release it, you're just going to raise your hand, or if I put pressure on, you're going to put your hand down, something like that. But what you notice is he's going to keep reiterating this pressure. He keeps telling Howie, when you feel this pressure go away, that's when I want you to do it. When you say that, you're subconsciously making them think, okay, I'm not thinking of that pressure that he put on my hand in the beginning. I'm thinking about the pressure that he's giving me right now, right? So the question is, how is he able to touch Howie without actually touching him visibly? And the one way that he's able to do that is basically by putting pressure on Howie's foot. Okay, so keep this in mind. Bear with me. There's going to be everything that a magician does, again, is going to be done for a reason. And I say that a lot. Now, keep in mind, why do you need a perfectly, long black tablecloth on that table unless you're hiding something? That's just a common thing that magicians do. They will not let you see behind the table. They will not let you see under the table. Why? Because they're hiding something. So the theory behind this is every time he's saying, Howie, when you feel this pressure go away, what he's doing is he's just going to put a little bit of pressure using his foot. He's probably going to step on Howie's toe, just put a little bit of pressure on Howie's foot. And basically all he has to do is whenever he says, okay, when you feel this pressure go away, I want you to raise your hand. All he does is, you'll notice, even at the portion where he's like crossing his arms, he's looking at Simon. That means he's watching Simon's hand go up, and as Simon's hand goes up, his foot comes off. He releases pressure at the same time, and that's going to make Howie sort of raise his hand with it. So it sort of looks like Simon's sort of controlling Howie. He's not. The magician's doing it. He's putting all the pressure. When he says this pressure, Howie's saying, okay, he's talking about the pressure on my foot, right? He keeps reiterating that, making sure that he says, this is the pressure. All he does is he just watches Simon. Whenever Simon lifts his hand up, he's going to release pressure off the foot. When he puts his hand back down, he's going to put pressure back on Howie's foot. That's essentially how that part of the trick is done. Again, this is a common thing that was done with David Blaine. He did a similar trick where, again, if you're going to do a trick like this, you have to be touching them somehow. Whether it's during the trick, before the trick, at some point you're going to have to touch them. And the way he sort of set up his trick, being that he's going to lift his hand at the same time the pressure's coming, that means he's giving pressure to Howie somehow. He's touching Howie somehow, and the way he does that is he uses that tablecloth to cover the foot, and that's where he's going to be delivering the pressure. Now, the last part of the trick is going to involve the cookie. Now, that's where we really honestly don't have too many ideas, so that's where we're going to open this up to you guys. You can use that comment section down below as a forum. Go ahead, comment your ideas. We really have no clue, to be honest. There's so many different ways that could have been done. But really, he just had to have gotten that picture of a cookie or that idea of a cookie to Howie somehow. Whether it was before the trick started, during the trick, we don't exactly know. Again, there's a lot of cuts during AGT, so we aren't really able to see the full trick. But go ahead, comment that down below. But other than that, that is really the entire reveal. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And this is Card Shuffler 99. Peace out.